Hello, everyone. Welcome back to UB. We are on episode number 13, Lucky 13. And this episode is going to be the band edition, where we're just going to talk about the band list. We got one new card added, which we'll be talking about quite a bit. Joining me this week is Ian and Tyler, the two regulars. What's up, boys?
What
What's
up?
up?
Joining them this week will be Mickey D taking the place of Chrono. I think this is the first episode that Chrono has missed, if I'm
I
not
think so.
mistaken. So Mickey got big shoes to fill there. He got three-time winner Chrono, who is
Ooh,
not on the show tonight. How's it
I'll
going?
try and get you your fourth, CJ. Did not have to win a PQ to get on this episode, so that a little bit easier this time.
Yeah,
Yeah, you had to win two.
yeah, yeah. Speaking of winning PQs, we have Diamond Bobby Sapphire with us.
We did
What's
it.
going on, Mike? He finally got
Yeah,
one.
not much, man. Yeah, finally got one. Not for lack of trying over the last 18 months, but we finally got there. It only took pinging with one drops, just playing a bunch of 2-1s.
How many force throws were in your deck?
There were three force throws. They were just disguised as McClunkies.
Wow. Can't believe it. Why wasn't
True.
that banned? I mean, that's the
I
true.
mean, if they were watching on the streams Saturday night, they might have seen what it was like when the Yoda deck draws zero force throws and the Cad Bane deck draws five McClunkies in a matchup.
Yeah,
Who knew if you play three in one game, you'll probably win?
Yeah.
that
That's what they say
that
about
is
force
true.
throw.
Yeah, yeah. And Mike, you are now a TikTok celebrity, I think, right? You just this morning posted a great
Uh,
Viking burial.
Thanks. Yeah, I do some like TikTok stuff every once in a while, but I had a really good idea for throwing the cards into the water like Job from Arrested Development, and then trying to set one on fire, but then sticking it in a Duraflame log. So
Yeah.
yeah, if you want to check us out on Instagram, KTOD Unlimited, or on TikTok, KTOD 069, of course.
Cool.
I
Excellent.
make videos every once in a while, but there's some good stuff on there if you go hunting.
Yeah, they're always fun to watch. So, yeah, yeah. The one this morning was pretty funny. I definitely got a good laugh from it.
Nice.
So, but yeah, so as I mentioned, we have a ban. Of course, it was Force Throw. The community is a little bit split, I would say, on whether they think it was needed, whether they like it or not. I've seen quite a bit of comments on social media saying it wasn't necessary. I disagree. I feel like most of us probably disagree, but there's probably going to be some varying opinions here, which is a good thing. Before we get into that, let's just take a look real quick at PQs. Uh, Instead of taking a look by week or, maybe just last week, we'll look at it as a whole and kind of lead into why Force Throw was banned. If you just take last week, for example, which there were 10, I think, see, it says 10 tournaments were reported. So maybe one or two of them might have been limited or one's missing.
I think at least one was limited. Yeah.
Yeah, so it looks like just by looking at this that like about 50% of the winners were force throw decks. You had two Yodas, you had Anakin, Talzin, Quinlan. In fact, I think I might even be looking at the even a different week, but it's just oh yeah, here's the right week because we had Cad Bane, which of course was Mike, but it was two Quinlans, two Yodas, one Han, a Kylo, which I assume was Tarkentown, and Anakin. Like those are all Force third decks. And the week prior to that, which I was just talking about, once again was about half Force third decks, and we've seen about 50 to 60% Force third decks winning these PQs over the last, I'd say, about month. So after the first 4 weeks of PQs, which were just people trying random things, the meta has settled, and it's basically 50 to 60% force throw decks winning. That's why it's banned. Like they want decks that aren't red to win these PQs. I mean, last week, I just talked about this, but it was Quinlan Tarkentown, Yoda red, Han 2, Cad Bane, of course, red, Kylo Ren Tarkentown, Anakin, Luke Skywalker, JTL, which of course is red. There was one non-red deck that won a PQ, and this isn't anything new. Like this has been happening across the board for a while. What do you guys think? Do you think that like that led to the ban, or like are they just trying to make other colors playable per se? We had to get some kind of mix up. Mike, I'll start with you on this. What do you think overall?
I mean, the point that they made in the stream that aggression is everywhere and they wanted to try and curb that, like, I'm on board with that. It's undeniable. Look at these winners. It's either a red base or a red leader, like all the way down. I'm just scrolling.
Yeah.
But these decks aren't all force throw decks.
Right.
I am probably, if you think everyone is going to say that the ban was a good thing, the only thing that I'm really on board with is there being a shakeup because we've been playing this meta for so long. But like if they have an aspect problem, I don't think it's force throw because there's so many of these decks that don't rely on force throw. Things like Boba Data Vault, Cad Bane, the pilot decks, like Sabine, they just don't need it to win. And while aggression certainly has the most varied tools, cunning used to have that, and they nerfed cunning into oblivion. And so what's left? Well, it's the next most utilitous colors, and the blue color pair, it does pair nicely with red. You do get that removal and force throw in a color that like otherwise can play all different kinds of removal. But what we really need is diversity all the way down. And I just don't think that like banning one card, even though it is probably the most polarizing. I mean, it's definitely, if you go to Swoop Base and you look at the card stats, like there are like over 3,000 more instances of force throw than the next most popular card, which is Power of the Dark Side in these PQs. So like it's everywhere, and I get that. I just don't think it was the thing that was making red good, and I don't know that they actually addressed the problem.
Yeah, true. Ian?
Yeah, I definitely agree with Mike. I think that honestly, Tarkentown was one of the reasons that aggression's everywhere because it was like the natural counter to the Hantu decks, right? So like Hantu's playing Force Throw, and then the decks that countered it the best were like Quinlan and Kylo Tarkentown, which also played Force Throw, but like these Tarkentown decks to combat Hantu. So like aggression was still everywhere. So if they're really just trying to make aggression not everywhere, there's other ways to do that. I do think Force Throw itself is a problem card, but I would have liked the shakeup to have been more than just Force Throw because I think that there is a worry that like the meta could not change that much. Like, yeah, you won't be able to Force Throw a crate out of your own hand and kill your opposing leaders now, but a lot of those decks, like Hantu just cheats things out. Like that's really where the power comes from. Like turn one Ogdo Bogdo is good regardless of if you have a force throw later on. Turn one Grogu is really good without force throw. Like I think Quinlan Ping Tarkentown stuff is still good without force throw. Force throw like push the power level of those decks to like an untenable height, which is fine. You're bringing them back down a little bit, but those decks won't just disappear completely. Like people will still play them, especially if like it's a type of player who like maybe only has one deck, right? Like they don't have the resources to go buy a new deck. They're just gonna switch force throw out for another card. So I don't necessarily think that their goal was met. I'm glad something happened similar to what Mike said. Like I'm glad that Portland's gonna be like a fresher meta. I'm just worried that it's not fresh enough.
Yeah. Tyler?
I agree with Ian in that FFG's goal was kind of random. They kind of gave us a random statement. It was like, this is going to fix that statement. I do want to push back a little bit on the side of I don't think the bans should be there to shake up the metagame. They really shouldn't. It shouldn't be a rotating thing every month. We want to see something change. I'm more used to the Magic. I'm more used to things stay for a while. They're chill. If something is broken, like Forrester was, valid ban. Django, especially after set 4, Boba, these things are taking over control of the game and should not be allowed. But if the meta still stays the same, it's not necessarily a things need to be banned issue. There's either other cards need to be introduced or things just all need to rotate out fully. And I think that's just going to be an issue with time rather than, every month I want this thing to be banned. I want this thing to be banned. I just don't really like that.
I don't think anybody's asking for that per se. It's more so.
No, yeah, I'm not necessarily saying that we're asking for it. I just don't
know.
I don't like the continue every time we go somewhere. There's going to be an issue with some card.
I will say it does seem like, at least for non-leader bans and even leader bans, you could argue every card they've banned has been both incredibly strong and also kind of had a toxic play pattern, whether it be like an unstoppable 13 damage or like a 2 resource swing or like killing your leader and no longer matters, and or like you're now shredded your hand and you can't hold late game bombs and restricts deck building. I think, like, I agree that there's a slippery slope of don't just ban the best thing every 3 months, but I have been in line with FFG so far in terms of, like, these are kind of the play patterns. On that same note, I could understand, like, a Tarkentown ban along those same lines, both because I think a lot of Aggression's power comes from Force Throw and Tarkentown. I would argue 2 of the 3 best decks in the format played both in Quinlan and Kylo, and the one that didn't was Hantu, and Hantu is absurd, just like from a rate level. But if you ban Tarkentown, that kind of gets to a slippery slope of, well, now Hantu, one of its biggest checks is out of the format, and even without Force Throw, are you scared that Hantu takes over? ECL can rise up because Tarkentown's also kind of a natural check to ECL. So do you have to ban those? And then if ECL is gone, does Data Vault just get overwhelming? And so, like, it's kind of a house of cards a little bit in that way. And so I get, especially in the middle of a set, wanting to do like minimal touches, get rid of the most problematic thing. And if the format's not that great, like if Hantu Blue ends up being the best thing to be doing still, or like the meta doesn't shake up that much, we only have 6 weeks left of this format before set 6 comes out. So might as well try it out. And if the excitement lasts for 2 to 3 weeks, well, that's 2 to 3 more weeks of exciting Sue that we wouldn't have gotten otherwise, and then we get right into set 6.
Yeah, no, I mean that's a great point. So we can kind of segue into the next topic, which kind of still talks about the bands. But I saw kind of posted everywhere. People had their own predictions. Most people, like more than half, uh, wanted something along the lines of like Force Throw plus Tarkentown, Data Vault, ECL, like some sort of like base shakeup as well, so that these same decks aren't, keep topping, etc. Um, do you guys think that they went far enough? Would you have wanted to see maybe unban something like TDR or Boba? I mean, probably not Django because that's probably super busted. But
I don't know.
do you think? I mean, do you think Boba is still like
Boba's
ridiculously
too good.
busted?
I wish they had unbanned Boba because it would make the choice for the next leader I play very easy.
Well, I'll start with you, Mickey. I mean, do you think that
Okay.
Boba is too good for this current meta, or do you think that maybe they could have went farther with the bans?
Um, Force Throw is kind of a natural check to Boba, so like banning Boba or banning Force Throw and then reintroducing Boba is kind of like a you're getting rid of one of the biggest answers and then also presenting a big threat. At minimum, I think they would have needed to ban his armor because like that's another very unhealthy play pattern. Um, I would not be surprised if they let the meta play out how it is, and at the beginning of set 6 they ban all the bases that we were talking about in Hantu. It's like I think I don't know how much trust you want to put into FFG's testing team, but like so far, at least from the band perspective, they've been pretty responsive and they've been pretty like when things are a problem, they might let it sit a little too long, but they do address the problem. And so in the middle of a season, like 3 weeks before sectors, doing a huge shakeup, that might not be too enticing because it's like it's already kind of disincentivizing players to go if everything gets banned and then they have to figure out a new deck and get new cards. There's a certain level of tweaking to the format where you're getting players excited again without overdoing it. But like I can still envision those cards being problems and getting them banned before set 6 comes out. Which I would personally be okay with. Like I had been saying that my personal ban list would have been the 3 bases, Force Throw, and Hantu because on the Hantu front, he just plays too far above rate, and like there's just so many gross things you can do even without Force Throw
Yeah,
with that
they're
leader.
like I think people assume that Hantu is dead, and like he is far from dead. Like
No,
I
no,
think the only decks that like are quote unquote dead from this ban is like probably Quinlan. Like he gets hit quite a bit, and like
he's dead in his
m-
current form for
yeah,
sure. You have to
right.
drastically
And
rebuild
then
it.
maybe Kylo Tarkentown, that's dead in its current form as well. Uh,
Yeah.
R.I.P. man.
yeah.
R.I.P.
Mike, do you have
hmm
thoughts on the ban?
Yeah, I have a lot of thoughts. I definitely I like I I get where Mickey's coming from. I agree. Like those three bases are a problem. Han is not a problem, but they're very, very strong. They are the polarizing points of the meta, as is Han. Although, like, I don't think Han's going anywhere. I'm wearing my green red KTOD shirt because at 9 o'clock I'm playing in a post ban event and I'm playing Han 2 green. So I'm ready. I'm here and ready and back without force throws. But the thing is, like, at that point, they might as well just bide their time for rotation and ban Data Vault when the rotation happens, because that's just too much. I already sometimes worry that, like, they haven't tested these post-ban metas enough, but, like, if they banned all of those bases in Han 2, there's no way they know what would happen to the meta. There's no
Yeah.
way they can retest an entire meta while they're still designing cards. It's just, like, it would be absolute chaos. My biggest problem right now is I'm worried that what this force throw only suspension is going to cause, and I know you're going to love this, Tata, but I just feel like it's going to lead to, we're going to go back to the same meta as Minnesota. It's going to be a blue-green fiasco, and everyone's going to be playing these grindy matchups. Rounds are going to go 45 minutes long because you're sitting there waiting to draw your what's that card that like makes all like
Unity
makes
of
civilian
purpose.
X-wing, yeah, unity of purpose, right? Like you'll find
That's
your
what they're
one of
called.
eventually, but there's 60 cards in there, so maybe someday. But like I just worry that it's the and like that's a little bit hyperbole, but I really do think we're going back to the same meta, because the problem was, to me, the problem wasn't force throw. It was building an entire set with the force. Like that was so insane when one of the best cards in the game was already force throw. So like to give us that, and I think that the force is a really well designed mechanic. I think it's really well balanced. I just don't think they did a successful deployment of pushing the force in a whole set. And I just don't know how they didn't see this coming beforehand with force throw. And then, like, what didn't they see going forward with the next set? Like, if force throw wasn't banned, would we even want the next set? Like, can that set even hang with force and force throw? I'm not so sure, because as good as disclose is, like, that's locked to colors. Like plot strong, but like there's nothing stopping me from playing force throw with my plots. So I don't know. I'm just worried that the power level is all out of balance, and yeah, and I'm already worrying about like the blue green mirrors in Portland.
Oh no, not Minnesota meta. I did terrible at that event. The
I mean, I'm happy for you, and I'll be happy for you again, but I'm not going to be happy being
no,
like, all right, how do I dodge
know.
these blue green
So
mirrors?
so speaking to your point about, like, making it set around a whole, whole ass mechanic like force or, whatever. I I think they're, not to make like any excuses for them, but their biggest hiring of devs kind of happened at a point where I think the first set that they're touching is set 7, if I'm not
Yeah, that's true.
mistaken. Yeah, so you know maybe set 5, maybe even set 6. Building a set around one or two mechanics isn't going to maybe work out as well as if they had a team of like 15, 20 people versus like 8 to 10 or whatever. I mean, I don't know. We'll see what set 7 looks like, but set 6, I mean, plot I think looks cool. Uh, I don't know about Disclose yet. I think Disclose is a lot better because Force Throws
Yeah,
not around.
that's to say. You can
But
actually play disclosed cards
yeah,
now.
but I don't
Right.
know if it'll work out in practice. We'll have to see. Ian, thoughts on
So
the band?
Yeah, I mean, everybody said a lot of things that I've been feeling. I honestly thought that, like, the banning Forso was going to be a good thing, and I'm a little worried that it could backfire. Like, that's my biggest worry, is just like, if the meta is back to set 4 meta, or if it's just the same meta, like, either if there's no like real change and nothing, like new decks don't come out, and it's either just old decks reemerging or the same decks we've been playing with just changing Forso as a new card, that would be my biggest worry. And like, I just hope that doesn't happen. I'm gonna try to do my best to try to find something new, but I only got like 2.5 weeks and I work full time, so you know, we'll try to figure something out.
Yeah,
But
but you have a team of 100 people. I mean, I'm sure one of the other 98 can surely
How you're
make a
behind
new
the
deck.
times. It's 150 now.
Yeah.
yeah, but look, me and Mickey are both on this show, dude.
Keeping you busy,
We're
keeping
wasting
you
our
Yeah,
distracted.
yeah, we're just keeping you busy, so it's easier for us to win.
No, yeah, but it, again, it's similar to what Mike was saying. It's like, I just hope that they know what they're doing. There's no way that they've tested this meta without force throw. Like, I don't think that they have the time or resources to do that. And I don't think they would have had the time or resources to be like, all right, if we ban force throw and Kira comes back, like, or blue green villain comes back, or blue green hero comes back, is there a card from there that we need to ban? All right, now let's test what that looks like. Like, I don't think they've done any of that homework, and I don't think that it's really reasonable for them to, because like that you would need a whole team of people to do that, and I just don't know if they have that in their like
It's
hierarchy of developers. Like,
it's also
they're
a
all working
meta.
on future sets. I don't think
Right.
any of them are working on like
Current
hypothetical what if
meta,
we
yeah,
ban
right.
sets.
Yeah, it's a meta that's only going to be around for like 6 weeks too. So like, I don't think they would care to put that much time into.
Well, then
Right.
like 4 or 5 more months total, right? I mean, we're almost into October, and we have rotation in March. I mean, so we have, you know,
I think rotation is literally what is saving them,
Yeah.
because that's just going to be a reset button, and everything is going to change
Well,
because there's so many staples are gone, right?
for us in the States, we have one premier sector this set, and then we have to assume we're going to have a regional next set plus probably, you know, one sector.
One second.
So
And
like
Beatle too. All right, don't forget
right, yeah,
about
yeah.
that.
So
Yeah.
so we have like 3, maybe 4 premier events before, you know, rotation, you know. So like that's, well, I mean, plus PQs obviously, but like that's not very many
Yeah,
like
yeah.
big premier events pre-rotation. So, you know, we'll have to see what it looks like. Tyler, I didn't mean to skip you.
Further on that point though, I don't know why this is the point where force throw gets banned. We're at this point, we have, I think, based on SWU base, four more weeks of PQs, and it's only like 20 total in the States, like spread around. I only have one more this weekend, and there's no more for the rest. So the only event I have for the rest of this set is Portland. Why now? Why is now the point where time where we're shaking things up? The card has always done its thing. I understand the idea of, oh, the numbers were fine. Boba Dataval came in and everything's all nice and balanced, but the card kept doing everything it was doing the entirety, and it didn't change anything. So why are we deciding now to ban it? So just let it play out. It seems weird here. There's nothing to play for the rest of the weeks. Like, this is it. Like, especially even this weekend. I was expecting coming to this that we were going to spend a week, and then this weekend would be a crazy tournament with new ban formats, because a lot of people have still tournaments this upcoming weekend. But no, it's still same with force throws. I'm going to go play Quinlan again. But why? What are we playing for with this? Is it just Portland? Europe gets, you know, at least 2, but it seems weird to me that this is now the time. It's like, let's ban it now. It's just random.
No, I understand that. They probably wanted sectors to be somewhat fresh, but I understand, you know, what you're saying. I've seen some pretty big hot takes saying that like Boba Data Vault's going to kind of take over now, and like, boy, let me introduce you to, you know,
Yeah, if you
like,
expect Ray Data Vault to be like one of the best decks after Force Throw
or
gets
even Luke
banned,
Data Vault, like Blue Green
right?
Hero and in general. I mean, even Obi-Wan. Like, it's just like those decks are just going to pound Boba Data Vault, and to the point where like they might not even exist here in like a month. I have no idea.
How does it match up against Blue Green Villainly? Like, Kira's just going to start coming back as well. Like, all these decks that were huge in Minneapolis are all going to be rearing their heads.
Yeah, yeah.
I
we'll have to see.
I think a big thing, Tyler, on like your question of like why now. I think it might. I think after Worlds, there wasn't. I mean, there was plenty of evidence to me that it should have been
Yeah.
banned. Right? It was 6 of top 8. It was half of the top 64. Like, it was obviously apparent that this card was overtuned compared to the rest of the format. But I don't think that they wanted to have the highlight of the card being like, oh, like it was legal for one event and that's it, and then people would be upset because, you know, oh well, it's only one event, like let's see what happens afterwards. So they let things happen afterwards, and then like the meta kind of drastically changed. Like the world's meta versus like the first 3 weeks of PQs was like way different. So I think that if they had just seen the same thing happen at PQs those first 3 weeks, then maybe they would have acted faster. But to me, it's like they kind of wanted to see if the metal would settle back to what happened at Worlds, which was like mostly just force throw decks. And then that is what happened, and then they banned it. And I also think it's a hedge for set 6 because of disclose. Like,
Yeah,
I
I
do.
think that they were like, I think they're just slow in general, right? Like, it's not just because of Worlds. I think they were ecstatic from Worlds. All their new leaders were in the top cut. Like they must have been so hyped about that. There's no way they were going to make any changes anytime soon when they get to
Right.
celebrate that their new set was such a hit. And they don't work quickly anyway. Like we didn't even get the sector dates for another 2 weeks because they all were on vacation and at Gen Con and stuff. So like I don't know. I don't think that the gears move quickly. I think it really just comes down to the sectors. And I love the idea of them adding the chaos, like that 6 week mark is like, sure, let's just see what happens for 6 weeks. They said they're gonna do another meta update in 6 weeks. Like they could very easily change a whole bunch of things
Yeah.
then. But like if you have this very short time period and like these big events that a lot of people are going to sort of like give you a like a high pressure testing ground for this set, like or this like 6 week meta, I think it like will give them more information and allow them to react further.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. So let's just talk real quick about winners and losers of this band. So for me, I mean, the obvious losers are Quinlan, Tarkentown in its current form, like we said, Kylo Tarkentown, and funny enough, Mike, I think you're like the anti, quote unquote, force throw decks, anti force decks like Cad Bane, really get hit from this banning. Uh, what do you think? Do you think that that's accurate? Do you think other decks get hit? Do you think other decks, maybe win, on this or what?
Well, I think what you mean is like a deck like CAD, who isn't getting touched at all, is going to be influenced by the way the meta shifts. And CAD doesn't want to play against these blue green decks. And I think, like, for the most part, that's true. I think that the one drop version has a little bit more game into some of the blue villain stuff. And some of even the blue green hero stuff. It just depends on like how far those decks are going to be willing to go to like get a unit down to stick. But I think the deck that rises the most is, I mean, it's just Han Solo from the first set. Like he's just going to be he went from non-existent to now like available in all four colors, Boba Fett style. Like you can play any of the colors with him, and I think that is probably the hardest part for a deck like CAD, because Han being able to ramp on any turn that it wants, that it sees an advantage, is the thing that like really shuts down weenie decks and rush decks and aggro decks. So that coupled with the fact that Forcer's going away, to me, is the greatest threat to the rounds ending sooner, because Han is going to keep all the aggro decks in check, and then the blue green decks are going to sort of like rise above Han a little bit, and then we're just going to be in that blue green meta. So I think Han easily the biggest winner. If I was going to say loser, I think you nailed it with the Boba Data Vault. I think like that's a version that people have really forgotten was just like seriously non-existent before like in the Minnesota meta. Like that deck was just not
Yeah,
anywhere
very
and not
few.
doing well. And that's why Vader was so good, because Vader, can struggle into Boba, and but Vader was wide open in Minnesota. So I think like there's a lot of signs that Boba Data Vault isn't actually the place to be. And I think it's just going to be the blue green hero villain and Han being the biggest winners here.
Yeah, and possibly Sabine if like blue green villain gets big, right? So we'll have to see kind of where she ends up. I think you nailed it with Han one. He's a huge winner from this. I think there's a lot of cards in set five that go into like the set four style Han one decks. So we'll have to see kind of what they look like. But I expect to see quite a few of those in Portland. Ian.
Yeah, I mean, excuse me. Definitely pouring one out for Kylo. Um, Kylo Tarkentown, 2025 to 2025, baby.
Where's the
I
dash?
think he's I think he's the biggest loser because the way that we built that deck was so surrounded by force throw that like you can't just put daring raids in instead and just call it a day. Like I don't think that's gonna work out. You could try to play like a super aggro version of it where you're not playing the force stuff at all and you're playing things like HK 47 and like axe woves and just trying to stick upgrades on guys and just do enough to be able to flip Kylo on 7 with a snapshot and just always kill.
Guys,
Um,
confirmed. BN is playing Kylo Tarkentown in Portland.
We never
but
told you what's Kylo though.
it's I think that deck is a little glass cannony where if you get interrupted, you don't really have any haymakers outside of Anakin. Um, I think the biggest winner is, I mean, it's probably blue green hero in my opinion. I think that blue green villain might still be in a similar spot. Obviously, like Kira was struggling against the Han 2 decks because of Kiadi's card advantage, and then obviously force throw, and then like sideboard pillages to try to combat and just have like so much card advantage. Um, but I'm not convinced that Han 2 is completely out of the meta, and if Kiadi itself, like even if it's like Han 1 playing red with Kiadi to like have a bunch of cards so that you can activate Han every turn, like those type of strategies I think are going to be really tough for the villainy decks, like the control villainy decks.
Yeah.
Anyways, like I don't necessarily think it was just the force throw decks that were keeping it in check. So I'm a little suspect on the control decks, but I think it will become mid range soup like pretty fast.
Yeah. That's
And I
true.
think a lot of leaders get unlocked. Um,
Well, you actually
like
get bonus points for being the first person to actually name Kiadi. Like that card is actually still a card, and it's still ridiculously busted.
Yeah.
yeah.
That card is
I think the actual best card in the format now is just Anakin unit. Like
Mhm.
that card is just so crazy above rate. And if you can just find a deck that can activate both sides of it easily, I think you're in a good
Hey,
spot.
I hear Han 1 can activate Anakin
Yeah,
pretty easily.
yeah, I would say Hamlet. It's there's not a lot of options right
Wait, you're
now.
not telling me Trench Blue's gonna take over the meta now?
Oh,
Probably
Trench?
not. No.
Who knew? Yeah, that's a cool deck. Totally had to play that this past weekend with Kylo. What a fun matchup that was.
Yeah. Tyler, what are your thoughts on the winners and losers here?
I have a very spicy take. I think that the winner of this whole situation, ban ordeal, is going to be Hantu Blue. I think that the best performing, and that's going to come out of this deck, is going to be Hantu Blue. Back when, after we came out of Minneapolis and all this stuff, I saw some very nice Canadian guy that took this deck to top 8. I took that deck in the sea of Rays and Kiras and all the mess, immediately won one PQ and got second in a second one. And if we're going back into that metagame, Alex can play as Han 1 green. I will play Han 2 blue, which I think got significantly better than it was when I played it at set 4. It'll still beat the Kira villainy decks. It'll still beat all of these other weird control piles. What did it lose to? It lost to Quinlan. It lost to aggro. I got very lucky in those PQs and did not play much of that. So if we think Han's going to come in here and sweep up aggro, well, Han 2 blue has got its number. I just think that this deck just becomes just way better. Just infinitely better after its best card gets banned out of it, which is a crazy thing.
I mean, I don't know if that's spicy. I mean, that's like lukewarm at best. But
Okay.
I was
We're talking about
expecting
everything else.
like
I think the
Flamin' Hot
average viewer
Cheetos.
of this show is going to be taken aback by what you just said.
Yeah.
True, yeah. They'd be like, "What? I thought that deck was dead." But no, I mean, it's still a very very good deck. I think it does change like 10 cards easily, but it's still going to be a pretty solid deck in the meta. I mean, it's still tier 1. Mickey.
Yeah, so kind of hopping off of Tyler's point a little bit, and then I'll dive into another point. The decks that lost Force Throw also don't have to worry about Force Throw anymore. So a deck like Hantu Green, like Force Throw could be brutal against them because they're often holding like Yodas and Crates and Home Ones and Calorins, and it's like a Force Throw against them, even if they have like 4 cards in hand, you're either having to resource one of those big bombs or like risk all your stuff dying. So I think the Force Throw ban definitely hits a lot of these decks. I think it hits Kylo and Quinlan the hardest because those 2 decks were not only good Force Throw decks, but that, in my opinion, they were the best decks in the meta against Force Throw. Kylo built its deck specifically with a bunch of 1-drops, and it wants to discard its upgrades anyways. And Quinlan has a lot of smuggle. It can play from out of the row, and it has pretty resilient threats. Oftentimes, the threats it plays when they hit the board are doing something immediately. A lot of hand disruption. So, like, those are the reason I think those are the biggest losers. Another way I like to look at the format is, as opposed to like leader-based combos that are improving, I like to look at specific cards that I think are going up in value. And I think a big reason why Blue Green Hero is getting talked about a lot is I think a lot of green hero cards in particular are on the rise. Caloran and Yoda are two big ones for me personally that I think are going to see a lot more play and be a lot better in a meta post Force Throw. But there's also some cards that like were in the Force Throw decks and were in the Force Throw meta that I still think will be around and are still like some of the best cards. Ian mentioned Kiadi and Anakin. I think those are two of, if not the two best cards in the format right now. But like Grogu from Han 2 is still insane. Chirrut is still a really, really good card. That's not going anywhere. Stuff like Tarkin Town. That I mean, if Han 2 is on the decline, which you would think initially with the Force Throw ban it would be, maybe not, but still, like Pink Tarkin Town is still a thing from Cad and even Quinlan. Um, and like Han 2 is still going to be in the format, in my opinion. So Tarkin Town is still good. ECL is still good. There's a lot of these cards that are also still good. So I don't think the meta is going to shake up too much, at least in terms of like what decks we're seeing. I think the biggest risers will be those green hero decks because I think the green hero cards were the ones locked out the most by the Force, and then Han specifically as a leader, which is why like Han 1 green is a great combo for that because it's the cards plus the leader that got blocked out. But I do think the decks like Cad Tarkentown without the risk of Force Throw might go back to like the typical, now there are two of them, kind of play on curve version. Quinlan is going to have to reshape if it wants to stay in the meta. Han 2, I still think you play the Force, but you can definitely play more top end, play more like leader based removal since you lost that self Force Throw to deal with leaders. So these decks are going to change, but I wouldn't be surprised if the leader based combos look pretty similar.
Yeah, I mean those are all really good points. We can kind of segue that into the last topic here, uh, which is kind of the same as the other topics. It's all about bans, but let's just talk real quick about what we think about the sector and regional meta. We have touched on this quite a bit already, but do we think that something like Han2, like Tyler predicted, is still going to be largely represented at the sectors, or do we think these new decks like Ray Data Vault or Kira Data Vault, Kira ECL, various decks like that will be taking up a large portion of of the meta? Basically, let's try to predict the top 8 of Portland. And Ian, I'll start with you. What do you like expect in your crystal ball? What do you think the top 8 of Portland's going to be?
Yeah, that's a tall order, man. It's weird because we're gonna have what 1 week of real PQs that
One
happen.
week. Yep. Next week.
I feel like for the sector, it's going to be a mixed bag of like whatever topped that last week is going to be like flavor of the week, and some people will just be like, "Oh, that's what I must do in this new meta." And like half of it will be that, and then half of it will just be like tried and true decks that we've come to know, like maybe some Ray Data Vault. I think there's going to be at least one or two Hans. Like I just assume that the Han players have been waiting for this moment and they will be out in droves.
So Han
Maybe I'll
won.
join them. Yeah, Han won. Um, maybe I'll join them. I don't know. I have to do a lot of testing of that, find the right color and all that jazz. But yeah, I would expect like one or two Han ones, probably a blue green villainy, maybe two blue green heroes,
So
one Tarkin Town deck,
that's quite a
one
change
ECL deck.
of what we have now. So that's
I
really
don't know. I'm
interesting.
just kind of throwing
Sure.
darts, man. This is like an impossible as.
It's
Um,
definitely a possible idea.
I actually was thinking about this before we segued, and it kind of like goes into this
Yeah.
a bit, Tata. And one of the things that you said on this show numerous times about the like leading up to Worlds and post Worlds was that there's two things that you should be doing in the meta: playing a Force Throw deck or playing an Ambush Vader deck.
Yeah.
Without Force Throw, do you think that Ambush Vader is like the next most busted thing to do, and like we should be trying to do that?
Scars time, baby.
That's a good point. So I played Ray Data Vault in a PQ. Was it last week? Week before last? Didn't do great. I went 2-2. But one of the decks that actually crushed me was a Gar ECL deck, and I learned very quickly that Ambush Vader is a very, very good card, against these Ray decks who just have like one real threat, maybe two real threats, and like a bunch of like clunkers, right? So,
Yeah.
like, it's a really good point to point out the whole Ambush Vader thing.
Well, Tata, what if I told you that there's a blue-green hero deck that also plays Ambush Vader? Because I don't know if you saw that Obi-Wan deck from last weekend, but there's a mad
I
lad overseas
I
that is
did
playing
see that.
Twilight Obi Green with Vader. So I think we found your deck for Portland, bud.
There we
I've
go.
never seen so many out of aspect cards in one deck
I think he was
before.
playing all 6 aspects
have.
in the
Yeah,
60.
yeah.
It
Love
was
it.
crazy.
Oh
And
yeah,
it
his
wasn't
deck is
even
nerfed.
Josh, which is crazy. Like he's
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
one that always plays these decks. It's just some other crazy mad lad over there. But hey, love to see it. Uh, Tyler, tell me the
All
top
right.
8 of Portland.
So from Minneapolis, we had Akira, we had a Cat Tarkentown, we had a Han Green pilot by Alex, we had Ray Data Vault, we had 2 Quinlans, a Han 2 Blue, and a Sabine ECO. I think everything but the Quinlans are going to probably be very similar. I imagine we're going to see pilots play very similar to these decks. I imagine the top 8 is going to be very similar. I think Quinlan, for specifically this event, will be lower because Quinlan plays, I want to say, a lot more like a control deck in the meta. It's not very good into an open meta. You want to know exactly what tools you need to bring to beat the very specific openings that your opponents are prepared for. And with this event, where we're going to get 1 week of PQs and that's it. Everyone's going to find their favorite pile of decks between all the possible options available to us, and it's just going to mash together. And we really can't tell what's going to come out top. I think that a widespread is going to be the best idea. It's the most lukewarm and cold take I can possibly do. But
Man,
I don't
so many
imagine anything's going to happen.
cowards. Like, you just gotta just own your top 8. You gotta call
If we
shot
had,
and own
if the
it.
ban was earlier, I could see it more specifically. I made the call shot. I want to say it's one of each. I think that Ophir's going to play some fucking Kira pile. He's going to do amazing with it, and he's still going to win out.
If he
I think
goes,
that Alex is
Yeah,
going to
if he
play
goes.
Han 1 Green. I think he's going to just absolutely smoke people, even though that deck, man, it could absolutely fall apart to stupid stuff, and I probably will not be on it. I imagine that some Sabine will still pop off and, just high roll people as it did. And I think that someone's going to play a nice heroism pile. I don't know if it's Utada. I have a couple, new friends now that are quite good with these heroism piles, the Ray deck. So
Wow,
I
did
maybe
he just
push for
drop
one of
you
them.
into the toy box like Andy did?
Exactly.
I don't wanna play.
God,
I
I
got
feel like Woody
Pasquale
right
was up there
now,
with you
just
too.
being dropped into the toy box, like, and forgotten about it. Top 4A regional, and it's not good enough for Tyler anymore.
I do think that this event is just going to super favor the really strong players. I think the meta is going to be so wide. It's going to be people just coming up with their pile, the sideboard, hope it works to splatter, and it's just going to come down to the day of, all right, who's just going to get the play, as every tournament does. But
Well,
this is the most random shot.
this might come as a surprise, but I will be playing a Data Vault deck in
Yeah.
Portland.
Big shocker.
Mickey, all right, tell me your top 8.
I think the biggest difference between Mini and now is the fact that Kiadi Mundi exists as a card. And in an open field where I don't know what's going on, I want to be drawing 2 cards while playing a 4/4 body on 4 resources. That seems pretty good. So that would be kind of where I go to start. And I think the biggest shift is there's going to be minimum 3 Kiadi decks in top 8. If I had to guess, at least 2 would be blue. Maybe the Ahan 2 green sneaks in, or maybe like a red-yellow force deck with Vernestra, and it gets more aggressive, whether that's like Han 1 or Han 1's the main leader in the clubhouse for me on that kind of list. But then I think 2 to 3 blue Data Vault decks, both heroism and villainy. Ray, Kira, Kylo even can make a comeback if you want to go like a little bit later. And like, if you expect a lot of the Data Vault mirrors, Kylo goes over the top pretty well in those kinds of matchups. Big body, a lot of removal on the flip turn, almost like a bigger impactful flip turn than even Kira. And Kira has a pretty impactful flip turn, I would argue. So a couple of those, probably 2 to 3. A Han 1 of some flavor, a Sabine of some flavor, and then a pilot aggro, whether that be Vader. I think like the biggest thing we haven't talked about, Bobby mentioned it like 20 minutes ago and we kind of skipped over it. Vader. Like, I think Vader could come back swinging really big, because even though Vader didn't, like, it just spat its units onto the board and like ran out of its hand very quickly, all of its units had 1 to 2 health. So even just like 2 for 1 with a force throw, and it was a cheap interactive card that mattered. I think that's big in the Vader matchup, is just playing cheap cardboard that impacts the table, and force throw is very good at that. So I could see Vader making a big run, especially if we expect to see these Bobas fall off. But this pilot aggro, like Kazuda, is also very interesting as a pilot aggro deck. Han4 Tarkentown top 8 Worlds, and so like that could still be around. But I expect to see at least 1 pilot aggro in top 8. So
Yeah.
it was 3 Kiatis, 2 blue Data Vault decks, a Sabine, a Han 1, a pilot, and then we'll put a Tarkentown deck in there as well.
So before I
That's
get
9, bro.
Mickey's
Did
doing
I?
a top
top
9.
9.
Oh, was it 9? Remove Tarkentown,
Yeah,
I think.
So before going to Mike here, I do want to point out that the pilot decks are a lot more scary into the blue green hero decks now that Purgle is, kind of around.
Mhm.
Like the 2/7 Purgle is very, very, very good in Ray.
I think the pilot decks kind of mandatory have to be yellow now because
Yeah.
of Waylay
Yeah,
to just
absolutely.
get around that.
Yeah, that's true. Mike.
Yeah, thanks. I'm chomping at the bit, man. I disagreed with Tyler. Like, I was dying to say, like, dude, this game is like team deck identity. Like, even you, Tata, like made my point for me before you even got to me. It's like, you're like, I'm playing Data Vault. Like, no kidding. I could name like 57 of the 60 cards you're gonna sleeve up in Portland. Like, get out of here. People are gonna play what they've always played. They're gonna go back to their warm blankies. They're gonna cuddle up at night and play the same deck they always play. That's why I think it's gonna go back to the Minnesota meta. I think all the good players are gonna rely on the decks that they have like hundreds of reps with and go play it. And like that's exactly what I did this weekend for with Cad Bane. Like Cad's the deck that I've played hundreds of games with, but never sleeved up to a tournament. But like just had the most reps on. I was like, I'm not gonna think too much. I'm just gonna play the deck that I know inside and out. I'm gonna be the most comfortable with. But I ran the simulations in my head, Tata. Here's the top 8, and I'm willing to
Thank
bet
you.
1 silver pack that I get more than Mickey, and I'll give Mickey all 9 of his. It's going to be 2 blue-green hero, 1 blue-green villain, 1 Cad Bane Tarkentown, because that deck isn't going anywhere, and it's going to get the great matchups and all the great draws and draw the McClunkies. 1 Han 1 space aggro for sure. I don't know if it's going to be Kaz. I don't know if it's going to be Han. Like it could be
Kaz.
Vader, but I kind of like the hero side a little bit more right now. I think like Han and Kaz are both a little bit on the rise. And then I'm with you, 2 Han 2s. Either blue or green, I'm not sure, but it's gonna be Kiadi Mundi. It's gonna be Yoda. I think the biggest winner. I think Mickey said like half of what I wanted to say on this, which was like late game cards that you get to hold all game is the biggest winner from this change. Because when I play against like Kira, right, like I just know I can hold my Crate Dragon all game for my opening hand. I can skip a turn, it doesn't matter, because I know that Crate Dragon's coming. I'm going to play it. It's going to do 8 damage. It's going to change the board state. That's how every deck is going to be now. My hand is so protected. I can just hold my best card all game and feel so safe, like all you people playing your favorite decks. And I do think that the biggest fall here, thinking about this top 8, looking at the data on my other screen, all these blue hero control decks, the blue red hero decks, they're the ones that are going to fall the most, because I don't know that like the decks like Yoda and Anakin can hang without force throw. I think like they lost the most out of force throw, and like all the great points that everyone's made today about Han 2, like just pushing the envelope. Mickey mentioned the rate of play that you can get these guys out. Like those blue red decks are going to stand the test, but the other ones are going to fall off.
Yeah, man, the guy has his whole notepad like burn after reading. It's like, here's the top 8.
This
That was a
Market
free
cap.
verbal
PQD
speech.
notepad is
very
going.
I think there's a lot of-
already.
It's going on my
I'm happy.
magnet
I think
board.
there's a lot of overlap. I think I agree with a lot of that. I will say I'm glad. I'm not glad. I still wish to go to Portland mostly to meet people. But after 10 months of playing Quinlan, I have no idea what the fuck I'm gonna do. Like
Yeah, I
I've
think
been
there's
playing
a
the
lot of
same leader
people
for
in that
10
boat.
months.
Is that they're like, man, I've been playing Quinlan, or I've been playing this since the set came out. Like now what do I do? And like it'll be interesting. We'll have to see.
If you
Hey, I
want,
get to.
if you want to find something that's you only have to play a couple months for quick, just play whatever I'm playing. All I know is that whatever deck I play, it's gonna get banned, for better or worse. Everything I play, my hands are cursed. They're just gonna get banned.
I am excited to be able to play this Kiadi Mundi card though. It's insane. Same with Anakin. Maybe in
Yeah.
the same deck. We'll see.
Well, I hope no one plays Kiadi Mundi because that's quite a card against Ray as well. It's like oh, now you can outvalue my value deck. It's like ugh.
Yeah.
So
Sweet your Keller inning and home one inning. I'll just Kiadi draw too.
that's one thing that'll keep blue red or the blue green hero decks in check is cards like Kiadi because like if you can't outvalue the Kiadi decks, like you can't win the game.
Yeah, like
So,
I think it's the biggest wrinkle from compared to the Minnesota meta is Kiadi. Like Anakin's also probably the better card, but it's very, very close. And like Anakin has a lot of
You could
overlap.
play
with,
Anakin in more decks just because he's
yeah,
neutral, right? So
and also
both
has a
villain
lot of
and hero.
overlap with the
Just
decks
say
that were
no.
played in Mini. Whereas Kiadi is like a completely new card from completely new archetype compared to the Mini meta.
Yeah.
I'm just glad I bought out every single Tranquility in the America because the grind is back,
I mean
boys.
that's not true. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have
Those
8.
curved foils don't count.
I have 8 top 8 Tranquilities
You
right
can't play
here.
those. Judge, mark cards.
So
I will say, if you've never played Qui-Gon and then played Tranquility, pick up Anakin, and then use Qui-Gon, bounce your Tranquility, play your Anakin, and then do that over and over and over again, it's quite
That's
fun.
the dream.
Qui-Gon. Someday Qui-Gon. Once the hand size increases to 8, starting hand size goes to 8, then we can start playing Qui-Gon.
Then we can get there.
So that's the end of episode 13. I promise one day in the near future we will have Ron Miles on the show. I keep getting asked like when's he coming, but I'm working with FFG. He's coming on. We're going to grill him. But this episode we have Bobby Sapphire as I think a 2-time winner from the both times
it's
that
my
he's
second one.
been
Yes,
on.
indeed.
Someone's got to stop this man. So, Mike, what do you got for us?
All right. I don't know if this is like dropping too much tea, but the Philly sector is very highly in danger of not being streamed. Like this is a travesty. If you like watching high level competitive, like the highest levels of this game being played on stream, which I have to imagine that everyone does, you have to call FFG, you have to call SCG, like call Star City, ping them online. Make sure you let people know that they need to stream Philly. It's going to cost McClunky 5 figures to stream this event. That's completely untenable. We need this event streamed. We need the people to see what happens at these big events. So please get the word out there. You want to see the stream. Get this changed.
Perfect. And with that will be our episode. We will
Great message. I can
that is a
ride
great
behind.
message. We will see you guys next week for number 14.
Thanks, guys.
Good night.